The highest my view count was allowed to be was 19, and it didn't last very long. And it seemingly got shut down because, you know, reasons, I don't know. But I am talking about the town of my youth. I consider Northville to be the town I grew up in, even though I didn't live there until ninth grade. My grandmother lived there, my grandparents lived there, and I spent a lot of my time there. And then we moved there, not to my grandparents, to an apartment like 2 miles away from my grandparents when I was in ninth grade. And Northville is one of the richer towns in the United States. Although, you know, I can attest to the fact that I didn't grow up in that. We were the poor ones. Like, we were poor people. And by poor people, it was much better than a lot of people's lives, but surrounded by the old money that I was surrounded by, we were poor people. And it's a weird thing to think about. Like now, myself, if I could live there, I would. But, you know, back then it was just different. These fucking pedophile friars, they all need to die. All of them. Everyone who's ever even been slightly accused of pedophilia needs to be fucking killed. Fucking killed. They're disgusting. Especially if they're friar pedophiles who think metzitzia is okay and soul correction and shit like that. You're just disgusting. You're disgusting pieces of shit. And your time is ending, just so you know. I mean, I think you already do know. You know, a couple of years ago, I was the crazy one, and nowadays, I'm right. I told you so. I was saying all that for the benefit of my piece of shit pedo neighbor, who is also a friar, I believe. I don't know. Last name has a Berg in it, so. But apparently he is a pedo. So, not really sure. I haven't seen it for myself, so can't keep going like fully. There is no God, you clown. You pedophile piece of shit, you. Anyway, I'm going to go back to talking about Northville because this ended up being a lot more interesting than I anticipated. So let's keep going. The Northville narrative is way crazy. It's really weird. Daisy's haircut, like, that's damn good. Looks like you got your hair styled every day. I don't know how he cut it that way, but he did a good job. It's too way I blow dry. Well, you don't blow dry your shit every day, so. So I was looking up the history of Northville, and it just reminded me of the history of the United States and how it's all just obvious bullshit. Like, seriously. I was looking up, you'll see it in the narrative. Doesn't even get far. So, Northville is a city in Wayne and Oakland County. That's weird, isn't it? That a city that it would be in two different counties like that. Especially
the part up Teft Road.
Well, but to consider,
because not the west part of Northville, not the east part.
Yeah. Anyway, considering it's a town of, I always thought of it as a town. It's 6,000. No, it's Northville itself. There's Northville and then there's Northville Township. Northville itself is considered a city with 6,000 people in it. Doesn't that seem like a pretty small city by city standards? I thought cities had to be bigger. I know when you're playing SimCity, Your shit's not considered a city until I think you hit the 10,000 point. Matt, what's up, dude? Said you were live twice. Tried to watch this one. Well, so I was doing an experiment. I was live on the first page. I was live on this page and the other page at the same time just to see what would happen. And the other page almost immediately boosted up to 19, but then fell right off. So, interesting. So, I was watching My Lunch Break's newest video, and now, mind you, I'm kind of sure that My Lunch Break is a fed. Oh, god damn it, Angela, stop it. Jesus Christ. She is a farty McFarterson. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm full of hot air. Oh.
No, you're full of shit.
Uh-huh.
I mean, what do you think's doing it, me or her? Come on, what makes more sense?
Especially when I'm downstairs.
They're loud.
Blame me.
They are loud.
Yep.
They shake the whole house.
Yep.
Like the lightning and the thunder and the thunder. Lightning and the thunder and the thunder. Good luck getting that out of your head for the day.
That movie was so great.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It was that Neil Diamond movie. That was really good.
Well, that song doesn't come from that movie. Neil Diamond's the shit. I've been a Neil Diamond fan for a long time.
Oh, I'm not a Neil Diamond.
I know.
But the movie was really good.
I know you're not a Neil Diamond fan. You are a weirdo.
Hugh Jackman did great.
Want to see my Hugh Jackman? Anyway, Northville is located roughly 27 miles northwest of Detroit and 17 miles east of Ann Arbor. As of the 2020 census, right, because here in 2026, we wouldn't need a more updated version, would we? The city had a population of 6,119 and is entirely surrounded by Northville Township to the north and Novi to the south. And it's so strange because like this is what Northville downtown looks like. It looks like an old, all these buildings are old. All these buildings are Tartaria-esque buildings. Look at the clock in the middle of Northville. Didn't you always wonder how that clock worked? How's that clock work? What feeds this old school clock? Is this air clocks, whatever? But it gets to me, this just gets weirder and weirder. So, settlement, right? I look up the history. European Americans first settled, European Americans, white people. Isn't that weird? Northville? And again, I don't think people can understand the significance of how rich Northville is as an area. Like, this is, not only is this one of the richest communities in the country, it's also old fucking money. As you'll see here, they first settled Northville in 1925 and was incorporated as a village in 1825, sorry, and was incorporated as a village in 1867. It was not incorporated as a city until 1955. So well over 100 years after settlement was it turned. Wife's got a little titty sticking out. She doesn't realize it. I'm looking. Originally one of two communities within Plymouth Township, Northville Township split off in 1898 to form its own township. When was the last time you heard about a township doing that?
What?
Two townships sort of splitting off and one becoming another. Like, when do you hear about that? Same thing with cemeteries. When do you hear about new cemeteries? One of the cemeteries, there was a cemetery right by my grandparents. Like, literally doesn't make any sense as to why this cemetery would be here. Now, my grandparents lived off of 8 Mile. What's up? Claim it, 8 Mile. Damn dog, 8 Mile. Craziest part is,
it's in Northville.
the craziest part is that the stretch of 8 Mile that runs through Northville is probably one of the shittiest stretches of road you'll find. Like, the road itself is always just full of potholes and all kinds of shit. Though, again, it's surrounded by insane beauty everywhere. And as I was saying before, Northville is unusually hilly for the region. Like, if you don't think about it, but when you do, like, think about the high school is on the top of the hill, or it used to be. Well, under that, but then, it's like Northville, it's like a bowl, or it's like a plateau almost, and then the plateau comes down into Northville and then spreads out where it doesn't go back. Yeah, it does go back up. Because if you're going down 8 Mile and you go past Taft, it goes back up. So Northville is like this little gully. And you just have to, I mean, to me, again, this is all just so strange. McDonald's customers think they can create their own menu. They need to make their own food for that. I guess it's not hard, but rules and policy are rules and policy. Customer just complained about how they want a McDonald's McChicken and a sausage, egg and cheese. I told her I could do it. I just had to charge her for the chicken a la carte. She was acting like a 5-year-old not wanting to. I mean, if you want to fucking pay for the chicken, then yeah, that should be no problem. I don't see why it would be a big problem to. McDonald's isn't rocket surgery. I've worked there. I know how that shit works. And trust me, I'll never talk shit about somebody working fast food. Working fast food is one of the hardest jobs I've ever done. And thankfully, I never did the inside part. Well, I did when I was a kid. I worked at Burger King too when I was a kid.
Oh my God.
I worked at Burger King for like 4 weeks. The first day I was there. Who is it? Kenya. The first day I was there, the guy that hired me in, the manager, had stolen the overnight bag's deposit and took off. That was but he, I guess, never logged me into the right system. And so though I was on the schedule, I wasn't in the system. And the first 2 weeks I worked there, I basically worked for free. I mean, I did work for free. They didn't count. Glad to be back, Glenn. And as much as I want to talk about all the stuff going on, again, I was watching a My Lunch Break video who I believe to be a Fed. Like all of the people that are allowed to have huge feeds like that provide distraction. But it just reminded me of the town I grew up in. Talking about, I worked at McDonald's for 1.5 years. McDonald's actually sucks, but everyone has to start somewhere to get the job on the resume. You would have fought over that. How? We're not talking about now, where there's all this proof. Back then, it was like you punched in and shit. I'm a lot older than you. I was.
Punch in anymore?
It's in a computer. They log in with the computer. Like, there's so much shit that our generation or that this generation will never experience. I saw this video about how my generation, even more so than my wife's, is one of the most unique generations in the history of the world, in that we were not only here through the change from analog to digital, we get it. My wife struggles a lot more than I do when it comes to technology.
We're of the same generation.
But we're not. We're not. I think generations are closer to 5 years. than they are 10, because the gap between my wife and I is actually pretty significant as far as like culturally, the things that we like, the what was cool when she was in high school as opposed to what was cool when she was in high school by the time I was in high school had completely changed. Like
8th grade when I was a senior.
Okay. No. 7th grade.
8th grade.
7th
Anthony
grade.
was a ninth grader when I was a senior.
7th grade. Anthony was 2 years ahead of me.
He was born in 77.
But I'm born in 78, but you consider it 79 because I was only alive for 6 days in 78. I mean, you're just trying to make yourself not sound old, and who gives a shit? Nobody's talking about that right now. We're talking about something different. Wow, 3.5 years at McDonald's. It's a rough gig, but like I commend you for doing it. It's hard work. It's honest work. It's work. Good for you, man. I wouldn't do it. I don't have enough patience for that level of stupid all day.
Exactly.
You're at $24 an hour. But that's with minimum wage being $17.25 where you are. I'm 29, did water restoration for 6 years in the beginning of my life. I'm a shift manager. I don't know, making the most money I've made. I mean, again, nobody's talking shit, so you don't need to defend yourself. Look except for the friars. Look, we have a friar come in here who's going to talk shit about somebody working like they know what it means to work. Isn't that interesting how that works out? Like the only work they ever do is trying to make themselves not look like pieces of shit. It's not crazy. It's only crazy because of your mentality. If you look at what it really is, McDonald's should absolutely be paying the fuck out of its customers. You know how much money McDonald's makes every day? Or paying the fuck out of its employees. They work really, really hard. Like, it is a mental job. Whether you're working the register or you're working back in the fucking cook area, you're looking up at the machine. You got to put shit together. You got to keep all the orders in place. You got to remember. It's work. It's actual work. It's one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. And I've had lots of different jobs. It's a hell of a lot harder than a blowjob. I tell you that much. Oh, look, we have dumbass here talking about Jesus. I like fairy tales. I like Jewish fairy tales. Me. I believe in Judaism and Jewish religious slavery. That's me. We got you. Yeah. Construction isn't a real job. Construction is a terrible job. It's a terrible job. It's dangerous, and you're fucking your shit up. I know a lot of construction guys who are in their like 50s and 60s who can barely work or barely move. Guess what? I did a lot of physical labor jobs growing up. And I'm almost 50 and my shit is breaking down pretty badly. But as I was saying, like my wife and we are a generation apart. What was cool for my wife's school songs were Van Halen songs. One of which, like, I don't even know the song, weirdly enough. Right Now was the senior song for her junior year, right?
Yeah. I didn't know.
Right now, hey, it's on tomorrow.
Is it junior or sophomore?
Either way,
Summer night.
by the time I was in high school, by the time I was in 9th grade, nobody would be caught dead listening to Van Halen. You know, the Unplugged album, Nirvana. When I say Unplugged, if I say Unplugged and you think of anyone other than Nirvana or Clapton, you're not paying attention. Do you mean Clapton or Nirvana? That should be your question. And really, it's Nirvana. You know, Nirvana Unplugged is top 5 album all time. I'm not even a Nirvana fan. But that shit, My girl, don't lie. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. At the end of that song, when he goes, and his eyes open. Oh,
Makes me a little nauseous. My ex-husband, like, obsessed over them. That
I just can't imagine somebody else affecting me that much.
over and over in my house, nonstop.
Is that why I'm not allowed to listen to music?
No.
No. I just can't imagine like anything like that. Like, oh, my ex used to do like that. Let that shit go. That's gone. For it to affect anything in today's, there was something else that came up not too long ago. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why it was such an issue for us. And then she was like, yeah, well, my ex used to, I can't remember what it was.
Hey!
But I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense now. Why you're such an asshole to me over it. Because it was him. Oh, why am I paying for it? We do that a lot. All of us do that. It takes a lot of work to do that. If I did that, like my wife has a freedom that most women don't have. And that I just don't give a shit. Go where you gotta go, do what you gotta do. You know, just every once in a while, let me know that you're okay and you're safe. It's been 5-6 hours since I heard from you. Just give me a quick, hey, I'm good. You know, because I am latchkey and you know it's all still in there. But like if I let my previous relationships affect me, I'd be super like, what do you mean? Where you going? You know, because my ex before my wife was a fucking psycho. And good old Sherry. Sherry was a nutcase. Literally. Like, pretended that she had my baby nutcase. Had me send her money because she had my baby. Sent me pictures of a friend's baby to convince me that she had a baby. That's how crazy that bitch was.
Too loud!
Nothing in my hard work. Even I am doing like, if I don't agree with most of your stuff, if you don't agree with most of my stuff, you're stupid. That is true. Yeah, it's reasonable and not entitled. Only a person who suffered can understand that hard work and suffering for very little in return. You know, I don't know. I think it depends on how you're raised. Like, I think I could raise my kids in privilege and not have them be entitled, but maybe it comes from my upbringing. I don't know. Belch. But especially if I had money, I would absolutely instill the same sort of stuff in my kids. I don't know. I don't like to think of suffering as being any sort of necessity. And I think that's, you know, part of the narrative they push on us is that suffering is a necessity. I don't agree. You know, it sucks. Suffering sucks. My wife.
Society has helped foster that perspective. You shouldn't suffer. Here's a pill. Here's a pill. Here's a pill. Here's a pill. So that definitely has fostered that. You shouldn't have to suffer ever.
I mean, you shouldn't have to suffer ever, though. You shouldn't. Why should you? Why should
suffering teaches lessons and helps you grow? I don't mean like destitute on the street. You know, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, you got to fall off the bike to learn how to ride the bike. Yes. But you shouldn't have to suffer. Suffering is awful.
Makes you stronger.
Not knowing
helps you not forget shit.
You can't say it. You can't
knee,
know because you haven't experienced both sides.
And it's gonna sink in, and you're gonna remember.
No, if you don't think falling off your bike is gonna hurt, then you're stupid. I can tell you, I fell off my bike hundreds of times. I got hurt hundreds of times. I can't remember any of them at 47 years old. I remember the instances. I remember some of the boo-boos. But I can't tell you how it felt. You know, and it definitely didn't dissuade me.
Which shows that suffering doesn't necessarily last your whole life. It can be for short periods to teach a small lesson.
But that's what I'm saying.
You got back on the bike, but you didn't do the same exact thing.
I did the same exact shit over and over again. Sometimes you just fuck up. You know, it's not about doing it differently.
Oh, shit.
It's about fucking up. Sure, you can. That is something. But then there's other times where there is none of that. You just fall. Something just catches. Something just, I can tell you this. I used to, and unless you know, you don't know, but the Highland Parks Hill in Northville is this huge hill. I mean, huge hill, and it's decently steep, the road. I used to stand up on my bike with one foot underneath the seat and one foot sort of back on like the reflector, and stand up in the Jesus pose and go down the hill standing up on my fucking bike.
That's fucking stupid.
Fucking stupid. Absolutely. And one time I had to dodge a car and I fucking biffed really, really badly. Did I do it again? You better fucking believe it. Yeah. It was an amazing thing. It's an amazing feeling. It's so funny. My wife is very entitled in that regard. Because I can bring up lots of shit that she has done in her life that she doesn't ever consider. Like when she, with our 15-year-old, there are issues like there is with any kid. And because my wife got straight A's, that's sort of all she focuses on. But I wouldn't want our kids doing fucking anything like she was doing at 15. Sure, I wish they were getting the grades she got, but personal life-wise, fuck no. We're talking about a 15-year-old who, would be dating a guy in his 20s who had a fucking Trans Am or whatever. They used to let Camaro used to let her Z28. They used to let her drive it. She would be going 100 miles an hour down a fucking 25 mile an hour zone. This bitch is crazy. You want to talk about me standing up on my bike?
Down Highland Park Hill, going around cars and the curve.
There's nothing. That's nothing compared to going 100 miles an hour in a fucking car. It's just nothing. It doesn't compare. I could have hurt myself. You could have hurt other people.
Well, you totally could have hurt other people.
I couldn't have hurt anybody else.
Swerving, trying to miss you. And
yeah, maybe. That's
going down that grass sledding hill into the fucking condos.
Yeah, that's cartoonish. It would have been cartoonish. It's all just perspective, right? It's all perspective and how you. I don't know. Coming from the age that my wife had a lot of suffering growing up, and I don't think that's made her a better person because of it. I think in a lot of ways, there's a lot of leftover dysfunction that comes from it. And maybe suffering is a good thing if you have the other side of it to be able to work through things and communicate and deal with. But, when that's not the case, when you have a Greek mother who sees you as, perfect, and there's nothing you can do wrong, and is like willingly snowed, well, it creates a different sort of narrative. My wife's been assaulted 5 times. I don't think she's stronger or better because of it. As a matter of fact, I can absolutely attest to her being much worse because of it. That's a suffering unlike anything anyone should experience. And I don't know what good comes from that. Even if you have, the proper treatment and, all that shit, it doesn't. There's nothing good that comes. It doesn't make you stronger. It doesn't make you better. It makes you harder. Makes you broken her. Right?
It's done some good for me as well.
I disagree. I mean, maybe whatever. I'm sure you're going to disagree with me, but I would absolutely much rather have a version of you that had never been assaulted. But then again, a version of her that had never been assaulted wouldn't have been with me. Wouldn't have worked. Our subconsciouses wouldn't have connected. I need that I'm going to fix you, girl, so I can fix my mommy. It's just how that shit works. And the fact is, it'll never work. It never, no matter what, it'll never work because you can't fix your mommy. Though that's the dysfunctional programming we all have. We're all stuck trying to fix our mummies, trying to fix our dads. And we end up, as kids, we think, well, if I was in that position, I would have done things differently. I could have been better than you. And so you end up emulating those same, situations without trying to, or whatever. This is the subconscious. It might not be the exact thing. Like I grew up with an alcoholic. I swore I would never be with anybody that drank. And my wife will have a glass of wine here and there, but she's not a drinker. She used to be. When she was a teenager and shit, like all of us, she had her days. But she's not that type of person. However, what I did find is someone with severe PTSD, which having...
met you?
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. It just wasn't as prominent, but it was still there. It's again, why you were with me to begin with. Right, but it's again, without trying to get too personal, like you grew up in it, of course you had it, and you couldn't have. It's just strange, but because I wouldn't take the alcoholic, but I still needed to fix my mommy. I found somebody with severe PTSD, which resembles alcoholism a lot. Actually, it's from somebody that's spent 20 years in one and has been in 20 years with the other. I can tell you, it's very similar. And these aren't knocks, right? This isn't a knock against my wife personally. She's a bad person because no. This is a warning. This is a reminder that assaults don't just happen that day. Right? The assault happens every day for the rest of the victim's life. And then it affects the children who unknowingly affect their children with it. Right? Because this shit just keep this dysfunction. The way that my children are raised, like especially if I wasn't in the picture, they would be raised like I was, by a severely PTSD, doesn't reach her potential type of, like my mom was fucking brilliant. My mom is like the second smartest person I ever knew outside of my grandfather. And that's not just me sort of, bragging, or my grandfather has like a bunch of patents in his name and shit like that. Like he unreal smart. And, and what I I continue to believe, and even more so believe, we're actually Operation Paperclip people. But that goes into the original. We're going to go back into talking about Northville here in a second. But it's like for me, growing up feeling like I was never heard by my family, that I was never appreciated, and always tried, tried to mold me into something I didn't want to be. Well, is it that surprising that I'm going to be this person? Trying to still be heard? Trying to be like, hey, this isn't right. Let's do it differently. You know, I used to get yelled at by my grandparents and my mother about my dad. like I had anything to do with that shit. You know, your dad does this, and it's like, yeah, I know. It sucks. Why are you yelling at me over it? Let's see what I'm missing here. Popular among the friar community, of course. Oh, speaking of, so it was either I think it was 2 mornings ago, yesterday morning or 2 mornings ago. But I was watching Sean Mundy, the halfie part of DAP, Dads Against Predators. Wow, we're about to get crushed. Look at that shit coming in. Fanny! Oh, you gonna do it? No. Fanny! Alright, forget it. What the fuck was I just talking about?
Popular among the friars.
Oh yeah. So Monday is DAP, right? He was doing a live feed on his Instagram. And the feed had like 90 viewers, right? 90 to 99 viewers. And there was, you know, and the comments were just blip, 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 blip. And so I popped in, and the first thing I said was, fuck bad guy land. Fuck I word. Fuck Israel. And he actually acknowledged that comment, and he was like, yeah, Team Goyim, I'm up on that Goy slop stuff. Yeah, I've been up on that for years. But he's fucking dumb. He's as great of a human being as he is, and I respect the shit out of him and all that. He's really a dumb person. This is a dumb person, right? He's a dumb person. I feel like Trump. But he is being inundated with a bunch of shit talker comments, and you just have to ask yourself to begin with, who is not only following Monday, but is getting on his live feed to shit talk him. This is a guy that is the foundation of Dads Against Predators. He is Dads Against Predators. Jay Carnicon is a separate piece, but DAP is Monday. And you know, he's a strange cat for sure. He keeps talking about his haircut. He dyes his hair blonde. Like, weird, right? Weird. And the things he keeps talking about are just weird. But he says the Goy slop thing, and then he's getting inundated with comments about how Alex Rosen, Gordon Flowers, is better than he is. Because they don't get the convictions that Predator Poachers does. And why aren't you more like Gordon? Why aren't you? And it's like, you know, you look at the main one doing it, and the main person's name was Christian Hunt. Christian Hunt. And this dumbass, Monday, I mean, you know, he's the dumbass we're supposed to be. Because 99% of the people, unless you're a Guy Williams fan, you don't know about act.il. You don't know about Team Jorge. Team Jorge, maybe you've heard somebody else mention once. Maybe twice. But you've never heard anybody else mention act.il. Well, that's not true. There is a guy on YouTube that's allowed to have a pretty big feed who made a big deal about it once. He did some great videos on it, but they're few and far between, and I don't think he's made a new one since. I don't know. And act.il is, as we all know, has been reinstituted, recombobulated, and into Rise app, right? RISE, capital APP, all one word. And it's basically the cyber war initiative where Israel controls groups of American friars, mostly college kids, it says, but who knows? High school and college kids. And sends them on missions to infiltrate pages like mine, right? Ivan, what's up? And so, to me, it's fucking obvious that Christian Hunt, it's not a real name, Christian Hunt. And the fact that they're sitting there, like, again, you're shit-talking Monday because for any reason whatsoever, like, why? This man is doing great work. I hate when people say, he's doing God's work. Really? I don't know if you're paying attention, but it's the people the closest to God that seem to rape the most children. Jesus was quoting the only one bearing the wind. Jesus Christ. Shut up. Jesus is nothing. It's stupid. It's a fake Jewish fairy tale. Plain and simple. There's no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. And until you can engage me on the basic level of the conversation, I don't care about all the fantasy aspects. Right? I don't care about any of your dumb shit. If your last name is Tanaka and you believe in Jesus, wow. Just fucking wow. That's all I can say there. Wow. But it's all just dumb Jewish fairy tale bullshit. And the fact that anybody would even deny it just shows you what a good slave you are. Because you don't even know about your own belief structure. It's not really a hidden thing that Jesus was Jewish. And for Jesus to be Jewish, his mother had to be Jewish. And that his mother was 12 when she was impregnated by your God. And Joseph was at least 50 years old, maybe closer to 80 years old. And because that's how their system works, that's why the narrative is that Mary was a virgin, yet she was still with Joseph, because at 12, she was betrothed to Joseph. That's how that works. She was betrothed to Joseph until she turned 13, was an adult. And actually, according to their shit, girls, the bat mitzvah is actually at 12. For girls, it's 12. For boys, it's 13. Which I had no idea until the other day when I looked it up. Jesus was non-religious from what I'm aware of. He wanted to preach the message of God and not to get people to worship him, aka Jesus. Idolatry is a mortal sin. Well, I mean, it's, Jesus preaching the message of God. Do you not understand how ridiculous that statement is? How did he know? How did he know what the message of God was? And all of the churches are literally idolatry. I mean, it's all just bullshit. Why do the cardinals and the highest ranking clergy members all wear yarmulkes? Right? Like, I don't care what the book says. I don't care what the interpretation is. It's just so stupid. It's such a stupid thought process. And the Bible is full of holes. Jesus was Jewish, stupid. Who are you talking to? Did you not hear me just say that? Yeah, I know, Matt. I'm not directly addressing you. I'm saying that there's many more of these dumb Christians everywhere. Let's get your fat ass in the bed. Ah, okay. I guess that happened quicker than I thought. Hi, go see Gabi. Give me that.
What?
Give me that.
I walk back this way.
I'm gonna smoke the other half.
Just give me it. Such a selfish bitch. I swear to God, it's crazy. It's just dumb. I mean, it's just like everything else. That if you just start to break things down and look at things, it don't make no sense, right? Like it's here. Let's just go back talking about Northville, okay? So Northville, European Americans, whatever the fuck that means, white people, first settled Northville in 1825 and was incorporated as a village in 1867. It was not incorporated as a city until 1955. So when you think about this, like Matt, you're in the in Pennsylvania, right? Or Maine or Pennsylvania? Which one is it, Matt? Matt's in Maine. So think about the Pilgrims, right? The Pilgrims are said to have landed off the coast at the end of November and didn't actually get off the boat for 3 weeks. It wasn't until I think December 21st that they made landfall and happened upon a clear-cut area from someone else had already clear-cut this area. But we're supposed to believe that narrative. The reason why they landed where they landed was because during the journey they had been blown off course, and the journey that was supposed to take a month took 2 months. So apparently they had all the provisions and everything to be able to survive that extra month, which already starts to get fishy, right? Oh, you're in Pennsylvania. Even worse is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is another one of those places where you drive and you drop down into it. It's really strange how much lower Pennsylvania is than what you assume to be, flat land like Ohio. Ohio's pretty hilly actually, but like we Pennsylvania. But if we were to look up the town that you grew up in Pennsylvania, first of all, I'm sure you can think of multiple buildings and shit that don't fit. But if you looked up the history of the town you grew up in, you'd be shocked. Now, I would be willing to bet your narrative doesn't rival Northville's. Because again, the significance of Northville is really understated. The amount of for Northville to be this rich area, and yet such a large portion of it was designated to asylums is really weird, because there was the the 6 Mile and Sheldon Asylum complex, but then there was also the place off of 7 Mile that next to the state police station. Again, just before you, it's like at the top of the hill that you then go down into the city, like into Northville. Really a weird placement of it. But literally, I got 3 hits off of it before you got here. So you only missed out on 3.
Hey!
Hey! Go see, that didn't sound so good. Good. $35 ounce of shake. But literally, it doesn't get here. They're lying about all. I stay away from dispensaries. I don't want to know what the hell that GMO weed is. Appalachian makes it hilly, that's for sure. My town was involved in the Civil War because it has a port, and I can tell you over message if I didn't already free. Well, I mean, I didn't know that Gettysburg was in Pennsylvania. Did you guys? I always thought about like the Battle of Gettysburg was like lower, more in the South. But it being in Pennsylvania just adds to the fucking don't make no sense. Because you have to consider that all of the fighters, especially from the Southern forces, had to march their asses there. And to think about, like, this is what I'm saying about any of these narratives we're given. When you think about what you're told the United States looked like in the mid-18s or even the 70s, we're not talking about a developed area. There's no roads anywhere. I mean, I'm sure you've been to numerous beaches. Like I was saying earlier, my favorite place to go to in Michigan is Silver Lake. It's the beach that, for some reason, my grandparents knew about, which is, again, kind of weird because, like, how did they know about this? This place was a good 45 minutes from where they were. And just way out in the boonies. And it's the most beautiful beach. I've done videos from there before, but the water is perfect. It's crystal clear. It's warm. It's the most beautiful beach. I love that beach. And associated with that national park that it is a lot of these huge hiking trails. And along the 2 Mile hiking trail, which again it branches off, you can 19 miles if you want. But along the 2 Mile trail is this random homestead that, grave where the only thing left is the root cellar and the chimney, and it's surrounded by all these trees, and it's in the middle of fucking nowhere. And you just have to wonder, like, how did somebody settle that? They just happen to be walking through the bush, and mind you, like, this is thick. A lot of it is swamp. A lot of the trail, as you're walking the trail, you end up walking on man-made bridges over long walk, 100 yards or more, where the bridge is over swamp or is over water. So to think that some random guy who also happened to have the skills necessary to build a house, build a chimney, all this out of stones and whatever the concrete mix that they used was, not really sure, but it's still there. It's still fucking there. But how did, think about Pennsylvania the same way. Like, imagine you've been to the beach, you've been to the forest. The forests are lush and thick. And of course, strangely enough, all of the biggest trees are roughly the same size. Seemingly, you have to ask yourself, like, there aren't 1,000-year-old trees anywhere. Oldest trees are maybe 200 years old, if that. But they're all the same height, same height, width, circumference. How did these old forests that we consider old forests today, how did they even get there? Let's see. Very unnatural terrain or damage for sure, makes me think. Has to do with Tartarians and tunnels and buried old world buildings in a random big field in the middle of the state flatlands. Right. It's just crazy. Yeah. I'm not concerned about talking about weed. I'm too old for that shit. I'm sorry. I just don't care. From the East Coast to the West Coast, pretty sure some of our trees here in Washington have to be 1,000. Maybe. But especially on the East Coast. Doesn't seem to matter where I go. All the trees are basically the same size. You know, there are occasional bigger ones, like, and what they did was, in the late 18s, they cut them all down. All the biggest trees got cut down, knowing they weren't even good for anything. They weren't good for paper production. The tree, the fibers of the tree of the sequoias and the redwoods wasn't fucking good. Didn't work out to be good paper production. So why were they doing it? Like nowadays, it would be a pretty difficult task to try to explain all those old world trees that if they were still standing. And you can see pictures of them. You can see pictures where an entire group of men is standing on a tree stump. And now that just made me think about it. Some of the biggest pictures, right, show these huge tree stumps with like 10, 15 men posing on it. How the fuck did they cut that? What were they using to cut that? Even a big giant saw with two teams on either side. Do you know how difficult that would be, especially, you know, a quarter of the way through when it just slightly started pinching down on the saw? What fucking technology did we have back in the 18s that was allowing us to cut down the big fucking sequoia trees and the redwoods? That doesn't make any sense. We had fucking film technology back then. So where are the pictures of it? Where's the video of them cutting down one of those monster fucking trees? Definitely not flat on the East Coast. Not sure how you got that. It's not flat on the coast for sure, but it's definitely like there are large, seemingly flat areas. But like I say, what you think of as flat, if you go east enough, you'll end up driving down before you get to the. You always will end up driving way down, or leaving the East Coast. You will always end up driving way up to get to, you know, the Midwest. High cut technology, still skill, woodwork, yeah, no. I understand it. I know tree climbers and shit. I understand pie cuts and I understand that. We're talking about trees that are like 50 feet in diameter. Like the size of the saw. Who was building these giant saws? What metal factories existed that were mass producing these giant saws and then, you know, their teeth and just instead of denial, try to explain it. Try to make yourself understand how this could possibly happen. What's up, Snug? Those trees gave us the good oxygen. Did they? What proof do you have that trees give off oxygen? I mean, think about it. Have you ever seen a tree giving off oxygen? The only reason you know trees give off oxygen is because they tell you that's what happens. They nom, 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 eat up our carbon dioxide and spit out the oxygen. But we don't know that. Hello, tree. It was cut down here and it was like 157 years old. 2% of the total breathable oxygen. Or so you think. We just don't know. We just don't know. You know, the thing about so much of this is why I have such a hard time even getting in arguments with people. Is because at the end of the day, your perspective, not Matt, but you in general, your perspective is the one that you liked. You depending on whether you've heard multiple perspectives or not, sometimes you've only heard the one perspective. But usually it's, it's like when you, why are you a Christian and not a Muslim? You have no fucking idea. If I ask you to prove why Christianity is the truth and Islam isn't, you have nothing. You just believe it because that's what you were told to believe. And that's what so much of this, right? This comes from. So much of these, this perspective where I like reading what they're telling us, but do I believe it? No. Going back to Northville, right? The first land patent in the Northville area was granted to Gideon Benton in 1823. The current Cass Benton Park is located there, where forever there was a huge water wheel there. And again, you have to ask yourself, where did this tech come from? Who was building it? Who was supplying it? How was it delivered? How was it constructed? All this, because you'll never find anything. West Coast trees. No, somebody mentioned West Coast this, but again, a lot of people we have to take into consideration are trying to dissuade, trying to change subjects, trying to. And as much as I want to be talking about the friars and Israel and all that shit, bad guy land. This is an interesting topic, an interesting break for a minute. And the idea of the first land patent. I looked into that because it's blue, so I clicked on it and it says a land patent is a form of letters patent assigning official ownership of a particular tract of land that has gone through various legally prescribed processes like surveying and documentation, followed by the letters signing, sealing, and publishing in the public records. Letters patent is like an official decree from the president. Like, kind of strange. So when you think about the first land patent in Northville area was granted to Gideon Benton in 1823, and the town itself wasn't founded until 1825. Well, who were the surveying team that came here and did this? Like, if you want to look up Hines Park, Hines, Hines Park. It's an area in Northville that has been designated a park, a national park, whatever. Of course, all of the trees there are, again, relatively small. Like, it seems like a manufactured area. But if you look at what's there and you think that was a tenth of what it actually looked like, and you think about these people in 1823, they weren't surveying from above, right? Right? Someone keeps deleting my comments. It's YouTube. But, the land patent was granted to Gideon Benton. When we're talking about Benton Park, Cass Benton Park. That's the water wheel, right? That's the duck pond and
I
shit.
think so.
Yeah. So if you look at that area, I mean, it was, I would imagine it was considered sort of marshy swamp area at the time. And so to think that somebody is making their way through all of this, the original settlers, it says, were white people from New York. Well, they definitely couldn't have made a straight line. They had to go, around what is the Erie Canal. When was the Erie Canal built? Again, one of those things that doesn't make any sense. But there are really good videos out there about the Erie Canal. That they were going to build the Erie Canal. And so they did. And they invented a new kind of concrete that could dry in the water. Like, it's all just such a bullshit narrative, but I don't want to get too distracted. And so Northville is 1823. Somebody is this Gideon Benton character. Gideon. His name is Gideon. Gideon Benton has made his way through hundreds, thousands of miles worth of uninhabited, virgin sort of forest and terrain. There weren't roads. There weren't even trails there. I mean, maybe the animal trails, but this guy is making his way through shit like, again, if you just go through the trails at Silver Lake, you're going to cross over multiple bridges. And underneath those bridges, the water can be, 3 foot deep, 5 foot deep, a foot deep, but it's all mush and gross. And to think that some random dude was doing that is just, it sounds romantic, right? It sounds that pioneer spirit led by God with Christianity behind them. They're trekking, and of course, apparently none of the natives were killed. Americans.
Don't they scalp people?
Scalping white people. You know how gross that would be? To scalp somebody and then what, you have their half a skull just hanging from your fucking thing?
I think it was the Sioux.
Yeah.
We're known for that.
Yeah, I don't buy any of it. Any of it, it's all bullshit. Like I say, these stories are romantic. And they're really, like, they were well done if people never have the ability to prior to the internet. These are really well-made stories. Where if you actually wanted to sort of deep dive into it, you would have to put in a lot of effort. You would have to go to that place and go to the town hall and ask for the records, and then of course you wouldn't be able to take a picture of them or copy. You'd have to copy everything by hand, and just shit like that. Like, we just really underestimate how difficult life was back then, at least by what they're telling us. And Northville is just a great example of this. And I'm going to try to eventually get to when did they finally decide to build all the crazy homes, the asylums, and why. But what made me think about this today was the fact that my wife did the same thing. When we were kids, the soccer league that existed for the kids in like Northville and Plymouth and the surrounding areas, a lot of times we would play I mean, I don't even know what you call it. Like, it was an asylum complex, right? There were all these buildings and little houses and shit, but it was the mental homes, and they were all run down, and like you'd be playing soccer,
Well,
and
each building had its own level of severity. That was the scary part. You never knew if you were near like the total nut job building or.
but it was all dead. It was all long
Right,
dead.
but still.
Right. But it was like, what a weird place to have soccer games. To have, like, and to the point, so much so that, like, as a kid, you'd play there, and then as once you turn in, like, a teenager, you try to go back there and explore this area, and then it would be off limits. And you'd be like, wait, why was I allowed to play here, but I'm not allowed to explore this area? But if you did explore it, all of the buildings, you'd go into them, and if you went down into the basement, there was a tunnel. All of the buildings were connected by tunnel structure.
So
Concrete tunnel structures. Who built that shit?
Tony's dad, Tiffany and Tony's dad, real dad, was a like a handyman type, janitor type guy there when it was open.
I wonder when it closed. We'll have to figure it out.
I tried talking to him at one point, but I was at his house and like he clammed up about it. I think some really heinous shit.
Well, that's what the rumor is. The rumor was always like, as a kid, you knew that there was a lot of violation going on in that facility. It wasn't like a secret. They used to do horrible things to the inmates, lobotomies and inmates, and like electroshock therapies and all kinds of crazy shit. And I'm gonna try to find more about it.
I'd love to talk to him today and see if we could get him to tell us some shit.
It's always hard nowadays to even, to stay on topic, because you go, the first land patent, what's a land patent? And then you go look in that and they say, oh, that's letters patent. The letters patent, that doesn't even phonetically sound right. But letters, and then you find out it's a decree from the president, and you're thinking, like, the president of the United States was just sitting around, like, giving patents out to random people in Michigan? Like, what? And it says, again, the first settler, the first land patent in Northville area was getting Gideon Bend and current cast. The first settlers did not arrive, however, until 1825. So another 2 years before anybody else even showed up. And why would they show up? Like, Gideon Benton builds his little homestead that apparently was surveyed and he built, and then what? Word gets out to the people back in New York, and they're like, all right, well, there's no roads or anything, but let's make the trek there anyway. And then, of course, within 200 years, it's just 200 years, I would say within 100 years, it becomes one of the richest communities in the United States. What is the significance? What is the importance? Huh?
I don't think there is.
You're crazy. Of course it is. The place where we were talking about, the soccer fields, they knocked all that shit down. It used to be houses and then buildings and schools. It stretched for miles. This whole complex was humongous. Now there's a golf course there. There was a prison there. There used to be the female prison was there, and then the male prison was just down the road. Like, it really is crazy. And you might want to look up, put your glasses on, township too, the difference. Many of these first settlers were originally from central and western New York State with ancestors in New England. Others came from nearby already settled Plymouth community to Northville. Again, Plymouth seems like a weird place to just be settled. Like, it's so far from Detroit or any of the major waterways. Like, how did they get to Plymouth? How did they just fucking do that?
It's not typically ranked among the wealthiest cities in the entire U.S., but is consistently recognized as one of the richest communities in Michigan. Among the U.S., the only ranking it holds is safest and richest number 19 for the safest and richest small towns.
Exactly. We're talking about a city with 6,000 people. Now, if you were to say per capita, things might change. But again, Northville is 19th out of all the fucking small little towns in the United States. How many do you think that is? That's pretty high up there. 19th out of
household income is in the 98th percentile of all U.S. cities.
Exactly.
Fucking
so
rich, filthy rich.
Old money though. So much of it is old money. Northville is full of old money. That was always the weird thing, is it?
But see, that's okay. So,
and I don't think old money is even counted in these things.
The median household income is approximately $150,000.
Wow.
A year.
Wow. That's fucking
That's not
insane.
a lot of money today.
That's it. No, yes, it is. For your median household income, that's saying the median one. The poor people, are balancing it out. Which, where are they? There are some areas of Northville where I doubt it. I doubt it's what you think it is. I doubt it's. Sure, but I don't think they're as poor as they were in our time. Your Highland Lakes condo is going to cost you a lot more today than it did when we were younger.
Swan Harbor still has subsidized apartments.
I'm sure there's probably some sort of loophole or tax incentive or something like that for the city to have that, right? I mean, Northville had that one trailer park that was down the industrial road and then off a little bit to the side.
Where the bridge is to go into downtown, that road that connects.
Yeah, Griswold. Yeah.
It was dirt. I don't remember.
It was dirt. It got paved eventually. Yeah, the one that ran along the tracks, like when you would, Highland Lakes Drive, and then there's that.
Next to Silver Springs. One just south
of
Silver Springs.
Just south of Silver Springs and then off to the right. Yeah. Yeah, there used to be, you go about halfway down and then.
So we'd go to that bridge, and if you climb up the grass hill, there was those little triangle cement, like, platforms or whatever before the tracks, We'd sit there all the time. Just we'd right on that triangle.
But down in that little area, there was this like jank ass little trailer park. Right, it was that small. Anyway, among these early settlers were Allinson Aldrich. Allinson, followed by Alvale. I've never heard somebody named Alvale. 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 Alvale Smith, of course, one of the Smiths, who sold his property to John Miller. I wonder if that Miller is like your typical, Friar Miller. Miller built the first mill in Plymouth Township sometime between 1825 and 1828. Why wouldn't we know that? Doesn't it seem weird? Like you'd be hearing these stories, these narratives, and then you get to certain parts and they're like, oh yeah, well we don't actually know about this kind of significant part of it. And it's always about, exact sort of the logistics of it. The logistics of it is where it always seems to fail. Your narratives are cute, but Mill Race Historical Village is now preserved at this site. Many employees of the mill began to build their houses near it. Northville was named for its relation to north of Plymouth. Oh, bet most Northvillians don't know that. Did you hear that? Northville is named what it is because of its relation to Plymouth? It's north of Plymouth. It's Northville.
I figured it'd be something to do with Detroit.
Don't you think it's really interesting that sort of, I guess, the rock hit the windshield, and that place is called Plymouth of all places? So Plymouth was like the founding of this area. It also just happened to be the founding of the United States. Did the comments get shut off? What happened? Everybody disappeared. Oh, here we go. This is really interesting. In 1827, Northville was home to the post office, and Gideon Benton was the U.S. postmaster. Did he have any sort of formal training? So now this man has braved the elements, and again, unless you've experienced what winter in Michigan is like, you really can't. You don't have an idea of what it's, the cold. And when I was talking earlier about the pilgrims, again, I would love to hear what Matt has to say about this, but apparently I have 0 viewers. The pilgrims got off the ship on December 21st, or maybe it's a few days earlier, but it's right around there. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, sorry. In an area they're completely unfamiliar with, and a time. It was December in Massachusetts. I think anybody from Massachusetts can attest to the fact that it doesn't seem believable that people without any knowledge of what the climate would be, who were trying to got blown off course. The month-long journey took 2 months. They crashed. They couldn't have left if they wanted to. Their boat crashed towards the end of November, but they didn't bother coming off the ship until December, 3 weeks later. Again, really doesn't make any sense. But think about that, right? Matt, you know what Massachusetts winters look like. I mean, a nor'easter happens to come in there. Can you imagine these people surviving a East Coast winter without any sort of proper preparations? Like, they didn't have any firewood and shit. That crashed boat's only going to burn for so long, and even then, that's going to be a bit of a journey, a bit of an effort to try to get those materials. So how are the people surviving? Like, as bad as winter is here, way too much snow to survive back. Cold and wind and like the just unbelievably brutal conditions that exist every single year. Like, even a light year by East Coast standards is fucking insane. My wife put this garlic fucking mixture on my shit last night on my feet.
Garlic, turmeric, and ginger, and lemon.
Had to wrap them up in plastic wrap and put some socks on. I slept amazing. One, I woke up in a lot less pain than I've been in a while, especially my fucked up knee. It's starting to get bad again. But yeah, my knee felt a lot better this morning. Still swollen, but didn't hurt as much. And I shit something fierce. Like it.
You had El Patio. You can't judge that.
No, but it definitely seemed like my body was cleansing, was getting rid of.
Lemon definitely helps too with that.
Shit that most of us would just be like, what? I ain't putting that shit on my feet. Look. I wouldn't have never come up with it. We're gonna have to do that shit again. It was amazing. If you like to taste the garlic, because you'll taste it.
Oh yeah, you will taste it. Repeat.
Anyway, but yeah, just think about that. Think about that in all of these stories. Like it's a lot more possible if, say, the journey started in like May, April, March, maybe late March, where it's like, ooh, it's a little cold and whatnot, but okay. Well, you know, and then you get like these, like, I just can't imagine you being prepared for the extreme heat and humidity of July and August. It's so fucking bad here. And then it changes like that. Like, it'll be nice. Oh, it'll cool off a little bit. Oh, it'll get a little more dry. And then boom, it just hits. And everything changes. And you're like, man, it sucks. And then it's like that for like 6-7 months.
This spring has been fucked up.
Fucked up. All sorts of fuck. Surprised everything's still growing so well. Detoxing is in her skin is like sponge. Yeah, we know. You are correct, man. And anyway, the idea of surviving winters, Northeast, East Coast, Midwest, any sort of shit. How could you possibly do that, especially if you arrive in it? The idea of the pilgrims arriving in December, I just don't think people are really understanding how ridiculous that is. You know, they happen to make their way into a natural harbor and shit. Do you understand how much worse the winter conditions are going to be in that harbor? Like, it's just fucking insane, but this is the narrative we're given, and nobody ever even questions it. Nobody thinks twice about any of this shit. Well, obviously we do now, but like, entire generations, before there was an internet, when everything you knew was the same sort of Nazi propaganda that you were taught to fear, it was just Americanized. I say it all the time, like our generation is actually way smarter in a bigger picture information sort of way than our grandparents, who were way smarter than us. Like, it's a strange thing, you know. Your grandparents might know a lot about what they're supposed to know about, but they have a really hard time, you know, reconciling that shit. That's why they have such a hard time with the change, with the adaptation. But I also can't help but wonder, like, what sort of, like, again, I'm speaking to people my age. You know, Matt, you're 26. So there's a pretty decent chance that your grandparents were born in like the 60s, right? 50s and 60s. Maybe the 40s. My grandma was born in 29, and my grandfather on my mom's side was born in like 21 or 22, we weren't sure. You know?
Yeah, it was 26.
Right.
I was 24.
Like, these what kind of scars did they have? What happened to them? I talk about this all the time, but I was talking to my grandmother about it. It's scary how preoccupied most people are with selfish bullshit to even consider helping anyone else by doing their part. Yeah, but that's how you've been raised to be. You've been taught that. Yeah. And I think way more of us are NPCs than people like you or I realize. I remember my buddy Jared, right? And Jared was a guy I did a lot of drugs with. That was the extent of our relationship. That was what our relationship was founded on. We hung out like a big giant rabbit. Is that what that is? There's a squirrel. I don't know. I can't see. And I actually lived with Jared in Virginia for a little bit. But Jared was a good-looking guy. A real hippie guy, long hair and whatnot. And he sort of had that, like, that quiet, kind of cool mystique to him. But it was really because he was stupid. And there would be times where, like, what the hell are you thinking about? And we would talk, and he would say, yeah, dude, there are plenty of times where I'm not thinking anything. I just sort of sit there, and it's like, and I've never had that. I've never experienced what it's like to not think about stuff. Like the worst thing to happen is when I wake up in the middle of the night to have to pee. Because I immediately start thinking about all kinds of shit. And I got to be like, stop thinking, go to sleep. You got to go back to sleep. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. I just can't imagine that. I don't know what that means. What are you thinking about? Nothing? No, I mean, you probably don't want to tell me, but it's okay. You can tell me. What are you thinking about? No, seriously, I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just sitting there. Has that ever happened to you? Does that happen to you? Is that something that happens to you? Do you have nothing times?
Yes.
Where you're not thinking about anything. You're just white noise.
Yes.
That is fucking insane to me.
That's it's not where, it's where you quiet your conscious brain, subconscious takes over, and it's a meditative state. You try to get yourself there. It's what allows your brain to rest and reboot. It's actually quite important.
I guess. I don't know. Seems like a waste of time to me. I just can't imagine that. I cannot imagine sitting there with white noise. We're sorry. The person you were talking to has nothing going on right now. Like, that's just fucking weird. That feeling has never happened. Sometimes I'm relaxed enough to not think, but it only lasts for a few minutes. My ADHD is too overactive to allow me to fully settle.
Will you take him?
I mean, again, I don't think it's anything to do with ADHD. I think that's the kind of shit that's like almost designed or manufactured to make you by people that have that, to make you feel bad, like something you're doing is wrong. But like, I don't know. Even if I'm just sitting there dumbfaced and staring off, and I'm thinking about, like, man, Israel sucks. Like, the shit is, I don't understand that. I can't wrap my head around that. Constantly thinking about how can we make things better? How does this work? How does, just how does it all come together? The more I seem to learn, the more I'm always thinking about putting these things together, putting these pieces together. I mean, that's why I write like I do. Because I'm sitting there and these thoughts are going on, and I might as well get them on paper. All right. So Gideon Benton was the brave adventurer who traveled into what we're told is Native American country. Like, a lot of our roads And our towns are actually named after Native Americans. So this would have been a Native American hotspot. And not only was he a survivalist and a homesteader, had the ability to build fucking giant water wheel and shit. I don't know if that was when that was installed, but he was also really proficient in the mail because he was the U.S. postmaster. What the fuck? What the fuck? 4 years after moving there, 2 years after other people moved there, he is the U.S. postmaster. Also in 1827, J.F. Davis became the first resident doctor in Northville. Damn, son. A tailor, a tavern, a shoe shop, and 2 blacksmiths also started businesses in the village. Many of Northville's first settlers' surnames became namesakes for contemporary street names today. These include Rufus Thayer Jr., Thayer Boulevard. I have no idea where Thayer Boulevard is. Joseph Yerkes, Yerk Street. See, okay, so that's that. I was gonna. So my grandmother's neighborhood was called Quail Ridge, and I think it was built in the late 70s. I know my grandmother's house was built in the late 70s. She was the first one there. Maybe it was 82. I think it was 80 or 82. Might have been 80. When they moved from Livonia to Northville, they had this big-ass house built. And I would imagine it had to be idyllic at the time. And to think about the neighborhood, like I can't do it justice, you guys would have to see it. But to think about, the neighborhood starts, you drive in, and then right where my grandmother's house was, you go down this big hill. And then on the other side of it, you come up, and it would go up a little bit, and then it broke off, and one way went down, and there was a little roundabout there. There was, maybe 10 houses on this little curve. Then if you went left, it went down, maybe 4 or 5 houses along that, where it went into another T. One went up this way, and it actually went up, and there were these hills, and a big, but it's not like a huge neighborhood. Maybe 50 houses total. I don't know if it's even that many. And to think about who owned that neighborhood beforehand, because so at the right on 8 Mile, you go into Quail Ridge. The 2 houses that are on that corner, because actually the entranceway is this big grand entranceway with this boulevard with a big stone, thing, Quail Ridge. It's nice. Wasn't a gated community. I'm sure if they built it today, it'd be gated. But on either side of the entranceway were some of the biggest houses in that neighborhood, and each one had an indoor pool in it. That's how big and badass these houses were. Next to the one house on the left side, if you turn in, and there's the one on the right, one on the left, next to that house itself butts up to what is called Yerkes Cemetery. Yerkes or Yerkes, Yerkes. So I think it's Yerkes. The cemetery. And when we were kids, we used to go into it all the time and just go explore. And you would see graves from early 18s. I thought there were graves from 17s, but I could be wrong. I have to go check it now. I have to go look. Daniel and Samuel Cady Street, William Dunlap Street, I know Dunlap Street, and other settlers. The first church was constructed in 1836 by a Methodist congregation. Wonder what church that is. Northville continued to grow throughout the Victorian era. This is evident in the architecture around downtown, where many homes are in the Queen Anne style. Northville's Victorian heritage is celebrated every September in the Victorian Festival, which was recently rechristened the Heritage Festival. Why? The first schoolhouse in Northville opened in 1853 and was taught by Jacob Ramsdell. Northville was incorporated as a village in 1867 from a portion of Plymouth Township. By the end of the 19th century, it had established a public school system headed by a superintendent. Village area. So this is interesting. Hi. Hi. Hi, my little guy.
It's been weeks.
Oh my goodness.
It's been weeks.
I'm going to scratch you because that's going to make you give it to me faster.
Yes.
Henry Ford purchased a factory in Northville and moved machinery from plants in the area to the factory in 1919. Known as the Northville Valve Plant, the plant was rebuilt in 1936 and enlarged in 1956. Where the fuck was this thing
Where
at?
is it?
I have no idea.
I've never seen it.
The plant provided valves for every Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln vehicle except for the Lincoln Continental until closing and being sold in 1981. The building now houses offices and a health club. Where the fuck is this? In 1925, the Penniman Allen Theater opened downtown and remained open through the mid-70s. The theater eventually closed, but opened again in 78 as the Marquee Theater and is now home to Live Children's Theater. I think I know where that is. Isn't that by the dogs? It's right downtown. It's by the barber shop and shit, I think. I remember Omi taking me to see Peter Pan there, I think. When Northville was more rural, skiing was popular and tournaments were often held. Skiing? In 1944, Northville Downs opened as the first nighttime harness racing track in Michigan. The Downs were built on the site of the former Wayne County Fair, where Joe Louis trained in 1939 for his world championship later that year.
Dude.
Boy, that's not a history that anybody talks about. That's for damn sure. Northville Downs stayed in continuous operation from 44 to 24, was located at the corner of Center Street and 7 Mile Road. Yeah, they just tore it all down and built fucking rich man condos. The city was incorporated in 1955 along the boundaries of the village of Northville and grew rapidly during the prolonged period of white flight from the city of Detroit in the middle and late 20th century. Right, white flight. More like the friars who owned all of the houses surrounding Detroit. These big... Again, if you just looked into the history of Detroit itself, it's something different. Detroit is different. This is something else going on here. The Mitten surrounded by fresh water, the most fresh water in the world. The whole thing is just crazy. The village of Northville included portions of Novi Township and Oakland County and Northville Township and Wayne County. Over the next several years, the city boundaries expanded through annexation of portions of Novi Township and the village of Novi, both east and west of the city and north of Baseline Road. That's weird. The city's northern boundary was fixed by the incorporation of the village of Novi into the city of Novi in 1969. The city also annexed small portions of Northville Township, the most recent of which was an expansion of the rural hill cemetery. Northville Township's status as a charter township generally precludes the city from annexing any significant portion of the township. The most recent annexation was permitted by the township in order for the city to expand the city-owned and operated cemetery. It's fucking weird. Libraries. In 1889, the Ladies' Library Association was organized by Mary Lapham, and had 1,200 books and 150 members by 1892. The library was located in the former Young Men's Hall in 1964. Young Men's Hall, what the fuck is that? When it moved temporarily to the new City Hall. In 1975, the library moved again and temporarily to the Northville Square Mall. In 1980, it returned to the city. In 1996, it was moved to the newly built Northville District Library. Mill Race Village. In 1972, the historic Mill Race Village was opened on the site of John Miller's grist mill, made possible by a donation from Ford Motor Company. Historic buildings were co-located here to represent a typical gathering of early buildings and uses. Located on Griswold Avenue, the complex includes the following. It's like a goofy ass fake fucking. It looks like a fake ass little town, like it's like they're trying to prove something. And of course, there are no fabulous palaces there. I want to go to Northville and just go see if I can find any palaces. Maybe we'll do that one day. The problem is I can't do it and do it live because these fucking clowns will call the cops on me and, tell them I'm doing something or whatever, and the cops will fuck with me, and I don't need the cops to fuck with me. That's interesting. I do want to go check out the cemeteries, though. I think cemeteries are hiding a lot more truth than people realize. You start, I did that video in the cemetery, the Redford Cemetery, and you find out that, like, the population of Redford at the time was 1,000 or some shit like that. And yet they're still somehow bringing in giant fucking monolithic tombstones made of granite, marble, not really sure, that last forever and are like huge, just huge. And you just think, how did they get this here? How did they carve this? How did they commission it? Who was the guy that they were like, hey, let's hire this guy to make the gravestones because he's the best? And then they commissioned him through what means? In the 1800s, what communication were they using? What, you know what I mean? It just, the questions just keep expanding. And things just keep getting more and more strange the more you look. You don't end up getting answers. You get more questions. Which shows you that the narrative just can't be true. If the narrative was true, you'd sort of hit dead ends. You look into it, you go, oh, well, yeah, you know what? That's a dead end. I mean, it makes sense. I can't think of any other possibilities. And, now what? Whereas this, you go, wait, what? Wait, what? Let me look into this. Wait, what? Let me look at that. You dumbass. Jesus Christ is king, blah, 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 blah. Well, once you have that answer, you don't need any more, right? You have your answer. They answered the question before you asked it. And because you're so stupid, like you have to be a Christian, it works like gangbusters. There's no argument. As a matter of fact, these morons think they're smart because they can regurgitate like a narrative poorly. They really don't know the narrative. They picked up on a couple of different pieces throughout their journey, and then they try to, you know, say what they know, but it's just stupidity, man. Economy. Tenneco has its headquarters in Northville, Charmer Township, in proximity to Northville City. What is Tenneco? Tenneco, Tennessee Gas Transmission Company, is an American automotive components original equipment manufacturer and an aftermarket ride control and emissions products manufacturer. It is a Fortune 500 company that was publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange since 1999 until it was taken private in November 22 by Apollo Global Management. That's interesting. Tenneco's origin was in the Chicago Corporation, established about 1930. What? You don't know when this Chicago Corporation was established? The Tennessee Gas Transmission Company, completely separate, had been formed in 1940. Seems weird, right? That you didn't have the foresight back then to think that your business might extend outwards. Instead, you call it the Tennessee Gas Corporation. Well, why the fuck would that have anything to do with Michigan? The Chicago Corp merged into the Continental Chicago Corp in December of 1930. Both were investment companies owning bonds, preferred stocks, and common stocks of dozens of industrial companies, railroads, public utilities, oil companies, etc., as well as U.S. Treasury and foreign government bonds with a market value of approximately $70 million in November of 1930. Wow. $70 million in 1930. $70 million in 1930 is equivalent in purchasing power to about 1.3 billion, 1,384,126,347.31. An increase of over 1,314,126,347.31 in 96 years. That's a pretty fucking huge rise. Let's see, holy crap. Like, that's like 200 million now at least. Yeah, I think you undershot that one. Like, have you been commenting this whole time? Because I haven't seen shit. What's up, James? Oh, I'm smoking your mom. 1930, 70 million. This company was worth $70 million in 1930. Which, again, had to be like saying, you know, a giggity figgity biggity billion, right? Talking about today. I'm actually talking about the town that I grew up in, the history of that town, and how American history is just nonsensical bullshit. Like, it just doesn't fucking work. And I wanted to talk about the tunnel system that was under it. I just haven't gotten there yet. And which generated about $5,650,000 income from interest and dividends in 1930. They made $5.6 million in 1930. So let's see what 5 million is worth in today's. It's 5 million, and I didn't even put 5.6. Let's put 5.6. Oh, why did it do that? Okay, 5,600,000 in 1930 is equivalent in purchasing power to about 110,730,107.78. Do you understand how insane that is? They made $110 million that year? That 1 year? Oh, well, go figure. YouTube separating truthers again. Your maturity level matches your testosterone level. Lately, it's been hard to find your show online for me anyway. Yeah, I've been blocked for 2 weeks, bud. That's why you have to subscribe to the other channel or subscribe to the Facebook page. Because well, if it happens again here, I'll go live from the other channel, which is all you got to look up is Spaghetti the Cat, and you'll find my other channel. The Chicago Investment Corp assets of $4 million merged with the Continental Chicago Corp assets of $24 million in December of 1932 to form the Chicago Corp. The Tennessee Gas and Transmission Company, subsidiary of the Chicago Corp, in 1944 they arranged for a $44 million loan from the Reconstruction Finance Corporation. What the fuck is the Reconstruction Finance Corporation? See why it's so difficult to do this? The Reconstruction Finance Corporation was an independent agency of the United States federal government that served as a lender of last resort to U.S. banks and businesses. Established in 1932. Wait. This company was a lender of last resort, which means they had crazy interest rates. This is the last people that you would want to use. And because they're the last people that you would want to use, they make it more difficult. Yeah, this guy I've been typing, go figure that. Yeah, well, there you go. Like it or not, he does have one of the most interesting shows online, for sure. At least this guy supports Israel. I do? I don't even think Israel exists, per se. But everything Jewish, everything friar, needs to be eliminated immediately. So, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you dumbass. You pedophile piece of shit, you. If you support pedophilia, you must be a pedophile. Pretty simple. So, isn't it weird that it's called the Reconstruction Finance Company? Like, you only need reconstruction after something's been destroyed, right? And this was a lender of last resort to U.S. banks and businesses? Established in 1932 when we were in the fucking thick of the Depression? You always have to think about that when I'm talking about these things. Like I'm talking about the the one company having their $70 million in 1930. They're in the middle of the fucking Depression. It is the worst time in modern American history and this company is getting established and has a 700 million, 1.3 billion by today's standards. Like, what are we talking about here? There it is. Be careful listening to this guy, folks. You can tell me anything I'm saying that's wrong, and I'd love to hear it. Notice how instead of actually addressing the points I do make, he's trying to tell other people not to listen. He doesn't say, hey, maybe this guy says something. Make sure you double check what he says. He says, hey, don't listen to this guy. Don't you listen, dumb Goyim. Stop listening to this guy. Because they don't have anything to fucking say. This guy isn't going to fucking tell us what metzitzia, how metzitzia is okay. Go on. Let us have some wisdom about why metzitzia is not something that needs to be eliminated immediately. What about soul correction? Something nobody talks about. Like, there are truthers out there that will talk about metzitzia. Few and far between, but they do. What about soul correction? I said be careful. What's there to be careful of? Look at you, clown. So you can answer that, but you're not going to answer other things? Isn't it weird how you pick and choose which things you're going to answer? And who didn't know this guy was a friar right off the bat when he made his stupid, you have this IQ and your testosterone. When he said, and then why would he even say, at least this guy supports Israel? That's the shit that they do. Right? They'll throw that. It's like, that's like a schmooly trick, right? Where they say stuff and they'll see, well, at least he supports it. Where did you get that from? Why would you even begin to think I'm a fucking horrible piece of shit person who supports genocide and pedophilia? F-R-E-I-E-R-S. You know the word. And then there's the dumb Christians who can't actually have reasonable conversations and actually start speaking in a different language whenever they get cornered. Well, Jesus still loves you. Da, da, da. Just so stupid. What time over how you think I'm friar? I do. I can't imagine anybody other than piece of shit friars supporting piece of shit bad guy land. That's for damn sure. Jesus can eat a whole bag of dicks other than the fact it's not real. Ooh, give me some zombie love. Ooh, don't I feel good? Aren't I insecure enough that as long as I know that a zombie loves me, I feel better? I can't imagine being that insecure. Hello. It's going to suck for you when the world. See, and there you go. Christians always with their death, doom, and gloom. The world is going to end and blah. They don't even understand. They don't even know their narrative. Right? They don't even know their Revelations end times narrative. They just say dumb shit because they don't have anything better to say. We're talking about one of the most open, like, obvious, caught pedophile organizations in the world. Oh, female hockey is so bad. Using words like friar exposes you as what? Understanding what friar is exposes you, you dumbass. Why do you think I do it? Why do you think I use it? Maybe it's because I'm smarter than you. And I found a way to get you dumbasses to acknowledge yourselves. Isn't it interesting how easily you inbred morons walk into the fucking traps? There is a big asteroid headed in our direction. No, there's not. There absolutely is not an asteroid heading in our direction. Maybe if you found God, you wouldn't be so mad all the time. And you're yes, maybe if I found God, I'd be able to ignore pedophilia like you do. Like what? See what I mean? This guy actually thought that was going to be a gotcha. Like, ooh, I'm going to zing you there. Maybe if you found God, you wouldn't be so angry all the time. Yeah. If there's something that I can do, something that I can take, something that I can experience that's going to make me no longer care about the children being fucking violated, I don't want anything to do with it. That's how stupid you are. You're so dumb that you don't realize you're working for me. That's why I know you're never gonna say anything that I can't fucking debunk or override. And I know that you're gonna just say the dumbest shit that proves the point. Just like these friars. You Christians are just insanely stupid. And it's so easy to prove. And none of them ever hit us. They never will. The thing is, they can drop a bomb on us. And if they tell us it was an asteroid, who are we to say it? Oh, well, it wasn't. Or if they use that rod of God shit where they drop titanium rods from way up and the kinetic energy builds up. And then when it explodes, it dissolves everything. It's so much, so bad. Yeah, you seem smart. Right. That logic is the definition of to be continued with nothing ever happening. No, James is cool, man. He's just saying something. You seem pretty angry and super. Again, isn't it crazy how, as much as I've mentioned pedophilia, this dumbass hasn't at any point been like, yeah, you're right. Pedophilia is awful. We need to kill pedophiles. We need to protect the kids. Nothing. Isn't it funny how they always forget to say that? Well, yeah, I agree with you on that part, but you're a dumbass any other way. Like, anything. Nope. It never happens until I say something, and then they're like, oh, well, yeah, of course. If you care so much about the kids, do something about it instead of getting on YouTube to call everyone stupid. Well, what are you suggesting? I go out there and start kidnapping kids like Grok told me to do? How do you fix something without addressing what the problem is? And if I can address something from the comfort of my home and pull people from all over the world, good and dumbass like yourself, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I am combating this narrative. I love when people say shit, well, get out there and do something instead of going on YouTube. As they're on my YouTube crying about what I'm doing, because obviously what I'm doing is working in some regard. Obviously what I do is so goddamn dangerous that they censor the fuck out of me. And they being the Ellisons, the owners of the YouTubes. This is how you guys operate. You're just not on that. It's inbreeding, man. And you're wrong. Not only are you wrong, you're coming from a really bad place. So you can't just like flow with it and tell the truth and look at things honestly and sensibly, because it will work against you. It's hard to expect anybody's opinion doesn't use their real face or real name. For sure, exactly. Anybody that hides, like act.il and RiseApp is literally like that's their mission statement. To hide, what was it called? I forgot what it was called. No labels or something like that. Where they made sure to make everybody like take all the identifiers off of the pictures and shit that they post. Insults are a sure sign of loss. Didn't you start with that? Isn't that how you started? He's not talking to you, Matt. He's talking to the rest of them. Matt's always on the fucking muscle, man. That's what this does. That's the point of what they do. The point of what they do is to make everybody so fucking like, especially on here. That's why they do it. You know that so then you don't end up trusting any of these random profiles because you're so used to like the amount of times Matt's been attacked since coming on this feed. Of course he has he has his walls up. He doesn't trust anybody. He shouldn't. And I get it. I'm not, it's not a knock on him at all. It's what they're doing. And that's how, you always remember that. It's all part of the, like you sent me, separating the truthers, man. That's what they're trying to do. James is just wrong about something. Doesn't mean he's wrong. He's just wrong about this thing. Well, here you go. No, duh, kids being done wrong isn't right, but not everyone does kids dirty. Right. That's what you came up with? Again, after it's pointed out to you? Gosh, that's weird. And what happens if you don't do it? Like, let's say you know that your neighbor is consistently trafficking children. If you don't tell anybody, if you don't do what you can to stop it, aren't you just as guilty as he is? Maybe I just look at things differently. But you don't get a pass for supporting pedophilia, but I didn't do it. I just support it. Did something happen to you as a child? See, again, it's like they read from a script. They can't possibly be empathetic enough to care about something unless it happens to them. The idea that nothing ever happened to me and yet I'm this much better than you is a hard pill to swallow. Right? Because when I say, yeah, nothing happened to me, fortunately, I missed all that. And yet I'm still vehemently against it. What's your excuse? They're just so stupid. You let them talk and they dig the hole. Of course he voted for Trump. You have to prove pedophilia, though. Saying shit doesn't make it true. Need proof. See? If that's not your typical friar, like how many people that have been on this feed for a while are laughing at that statement? That's what they always say. They're always trying to gauge. Wait, do you know about my shit? Wait, did you find out what I did? Do you have some sort of proof? Like the proof isn't in their perspective, in how they do it. And as far as the friar cult goes, again, I've brought it up numerous times now. Metzitzia, soul correction, the maltude, and 3 years in 1 day, all that good shit. Yeah, there's lots of proof. But interesting how, again, instead of acknowledging that pedophiles should be killed, this guy's like, proof? You need to have proof. Okay. Didn't vote for anyone. Never. They don't care about us, Trump, or the next person, so why vote? Well, so you can see through that, but you can't see through the Jewish fairy tale that is Christianity. How? How do you stop your intelligence when it comes to Christianity? Jewish fairy tale. Right, asking to see CP. It's not CP. It's child exploitation materials, or CSAM. Child sexual abuse materials. That's CSAM. Yeah, it's not pornography. Pornography is a willing exchange between two, paid or willing participants. Children can't be in that picture. I never want that. You're another one. I never insulted anyone. You did. Your height. Yeah, okay, so let's see. At least this guy supports Israel. Oh, wait, no. Your maturity level matches your testosterone level. That's not an insult. I wasn't insulting you. If I knew someone doing it, they'd meet God a little quicker than I was to meet God. So you'd kill somebody? Thou shalt not kill, though, right? You see how you're smarter than the shit you believe, and yet you're still so dumb you believe it? Interesting, man. It's interesting how people will like Dan Bilzerian, man. Dan Bilzerian is a nutcase. He's a piece of shit nutcase. But me being the person I am, I'm like obligated to support Dan because he's running against big fat piece of shit Randy Fine. When this is the definition of the lesser of two evils, like scenario, Dan Bilzerian is a racist, homophobic, sexist, fucking Christian nutcase who literally told the Hodge twins that when they said, well, wasn't Jesus Jewish? He said, well, I prefer to think of him as Palestinian. And the Hodge twins were like, maybe that's why they hate him so much. But Dan Bilzerian is willing to change the biblical narrative to fit his perspective. And when you have people like that, they are dangerous. Dan is fucking dangerous. He is a piece of shit and he's dangerous. And of course, he's given to us. You know, I mean, I guess you're just going to ignore his father's whole connection and the money and all that shit, right? You folks are silly, says the dumb friar. The same guy talking about me not having a faith left, so that must mean he got observed. No, he wasn't talking to you. I'm telling you, James is cool. Marbles, what's happening? Not a fairy tale. No, it is, dude. It is. When all you can say is, oh, you're smoking pot. If that's the only argument you have, again, what a loser. What a piece of shit, cop-out little bitch you are. Right? I'm not going to address any of the serious stuff you're saying. I'm just going to go with the easy cop-out. You're using medicine. Stop using medicine. All natural, non-fucking government GMO bullshit medicine. This is what they do, man. This is the admission to loss that I'm always talking about. Not once addressing the pedophilia other than to say, what proof? Where's your proof? When the proof is everywhere. And then when the examples are given, you know, oh yeah, smoke up, bro. Smoke up, bro. This is what they do. And it's amazing how many examples we've seen of it. Act.il is just full of absolute dumbass people. You take one bad Christian and act like we're all bad. Rather be a loser going to heaven than a lost soul going to hell. Like, what the fuck? You're just a dumbass. That's all it comes down to, is you're a dumbass sheep who you know, believes in something with zero evidence. And can't even tell you why. Again, why are you a Christian and not a Muslim? What proof have you seen that justifies you being so arrogant? Because you should be able to debunk Islam and Judaism, even though they're connected, and Hindus and Buddhists and Scientologists and Mormons and whatever version of Christian you actually are, because which version of Christian are you? Which variation are you arrogantly saying is the right one? Good luck with your trip to heaven. Don't buy your tickets in advance. No, do. You know what's funny is do you guys remember the story of the couple? The guy had like stripes tattooed on his face, and he was a white dude, and he was with some like cracked out looking black chick, remember? But they got in trouble for selling tickets to heaven. And it's like, how did they get in trouble for selling tickets to heaven? If you're dumb enough to think that some random guy on the street has tickets to heaven, I mean, how can you prove that they're not? Like I always say, how can any of you goddamn dumbass Christians prove that your God isn't utterly disgusted by religion and everything that uses it to justify what they do or their existence? And because, as the Bible continuously shows you, God is completely powerless to do anything, it for all these years it hasn't been able to break through until it got to me. And it's the thing behind why I'm so fucking great at what I do, both this and the music, the band. The words specifically, the word. How can you prove that it's not all your God working through me to try to abolish the disgusting religions that you're all slaves to? Just like Jesus, right? With my woolly hair and my big bronzy feet. Go ahead and prove I'm wrong. And then if you can prove God isn't working through me, then I'll admit it's real. It's not real, dude. It's dumb. Where in the Bible does it show God is powerless? It's funny how this dumbass chooses to respond to easy layups instead of addressing any of the harder shit. Yeah, the Mormons are funny. They're fucking insane is what they are. They're insane. The fact that there's literally a show on TV, or at least there used to be, called Escaping Polygamy, which was these three reasonably looking chicks. No, I just haven't read them yet, Matt. Reasonably looking chicks, reasonably good looking chicks, have made it their life's work to try to help people escape Mormonism. And if you know, they'll come in with like couple of trucks, while the family is off doing an errand or whatever, and then they'll pack up the girl really quick or the boy, and they'll get them the fuck out of there. And if they don't do it quick enough, the family comes home and they'll like surround the kid or they'll surround the people, like they'll chase, like it's crazy. And they have to escape because the family's never going to talk to them again. And it's just insane. And it's all a Friar-produced TV show that's there to entertain us. They're literally escaping, and the law isn't stepping in to do something about it. We're in the mind when God is powerless. There's many examples of it. And it's more along the lines of nowadays. You know, your God seems pretty powerless nowadays. Unless somebody's running faster than other people, or catching a football, or winning an award for acting, God doesn't seem to be able to do very much. It's interesting how God doesn't appear to Trump or Netanyahu and be like, hey, you're doing it wrong. You better stop or I'm going to fuck you up. Isn't that weird how that never happens? How in the history of Goddom, God, Jesus, never appeared to a cop driving through neighborhoods on his normal beat. Suddenly, God appears next to him in the passenger seat and says, "Stop the car. Go kick in that door. Never mind the warrant." The guy, "Oh, okay, God." Stops, kicks in the door, and there's a pedophile ring that gets exposed. And he saves 10 children and exposes this huge network that shuts down this children. Never fucking happened. Never happened. But every drunk and drug addict that were strong enough to get past the shit on their own has been tricked into giving God credit. And they all do it. No, God's appeared to me when I was in my darkest, I was drunk, I was on drugs, I was depressed. The one broad said she was depressed because her mother died, so she wanted to die. Like, how broken do you have to be to want to die because your mommy dies? You're supposed to outlive your mom, you stupid ass. But she said she was at her wit's end, and she put out the APB for any gods that exist to come help her. And the only one that responded was Christian God. Never really got to know which Christian God it was. Presbyterian, Lutheran, whatever. But, oh, so she peed again? Good job, Gob. Why the fuck do we have so much junk mail today? God damn. Apparently it's junk mail day? The fuck?
The most incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yay, there's fun. We need money. Give us money. Yeah, James, if I misinterpreted, I understand. I was trying to clarify. I apologize. Refer to you as someone else. There you go. Someone talking about Matt is awesome like that. I got to give him credit. Most people aren't good like that. We're supposed to pay these assholes for their information. That's what these. Why don't the preachers get a real job? They don't have to, cause they're okay. So, like, Christianity was founded by and for gay men, or pedophiles, actually, gay pedophiles. Because where else can people be virgins? I show no interest in women. Wear a dress all day, and be required to know very little, and every aspect of their life is taken care of and catered to. It's fucking insane. What good points, Matt? And they show has nothing to do with Christians. Get your religions right. They ain't all the same. What a dumbass, man. Like, I haven't asked him multiple times which version he is, and he won't answer it. Yeah. Preaching, teaching. I'm actually on a journey for self. This is selfish. I'm trying to learn everything I can. I'm trying to make the world a better place so myself, my wife, and my children live the happiest, healthiest, safest lives they can. The only way that happens, though, is if everyone else is living the happiest, healthiest, safest lives they can live. But I'm doing this in the hopes of finding anybody that can, if you can convince me that I just need to shut the fuck up and listen to the friars, and then when I die, I get a mansion. Like, if you can convince me that's real, I'd love it. I'd love to believe it's gonna be okay. Just follow the rules and shut the fuck up. That sounds pleasant. I wasn't talking about God. I was talking about the preachers in church. I was Christian chicken. I'm not reminding you. Stop, Matt. Matt's in jerk mode today. Matt reminds me of myself at 26. That's for damn sure. Yeah, you're right, man. Everything except the submarine thing. For no reason. You still believe in submarines, huh? Such a goofy thing, man. Until I am in a submarine that I know has, like, how could I even know? There's no way to know. They'll just tell you you're in something if they do. And if submarines are real, it's a found technology. We didn't do it. But they're not. They're just not. What makes more sense, right? That they can build miniature nuclear reactors, power a submarine, fit inside said submarine, along with the desalination plant necessary to make the reactor work. And yet, we don't have miniature reactors all over powering shit basically for free. And if they say it's because it's dangerous, I mean, is it more dangerous to have a regulated facility on land where, if something were to go wrong, there could be lots of avenues to help, as opposed to some random little tin can floating around in the middle of the ocean somewhere with a nuclear reactor in it that would contaminate the ocean and explode, like all the shit that could come from that. And the thing is, in the history of nuclear subbing, they've never had a single fucking hiccup. There's never been an accidental bump. There's never been a this, a that, a blah, blah. If we have that kind of record since 1952, the first nuclear sub was that's when the government was like, hey, Hyman Rickover, we need nuclear subs. And he was like, I got you. And 3 years later, we had one. I mean, just think about this. The Concorde, which was a supersonic jet that flew at 55,000 feet, and like it just doesn't make any sense that we had this technology starting in 1969, and it could shorten the trip, worldwide trips where rich people especially could spend half the time flying on the planes. And here we are in 2026, and we're like, no, we're not. There was that one aviation accident with the Concorde, so we're never going to use that shit again. They had one hiccup in the 80s, and no, that shuts that shit down for good. What sense does that make? You don't think if the Concorde existed today, we would be fucking, like, there would be all sorts of rich people using it? You don't think that if they could make it in 1969, they wouldn't have improved upon it and would have an even better design by 2026 standards? The Concorde is another one of these things that just does not fit the timeline, so they got rid of it. And they're hoping that in enough generations, like the next generation, if you weren't alive during the Concorde, you're not going to remember the Concorde. The Concorde in 1969 was the first airplane jet that was completely piloted by computers. The only thing that the pilots did was sit there and make sure everything worked all right. And takeoff and landing, I think. But all of the other operations of the plane, pressure and just all of it was done by computers. Now, go ahead and look up what computers, like look up NASA in 1969. Look at the computer system that's there, and the little green dots, and they're all flashing lights, and the reels on the walls. Where did this huge computer system fit into the Concorde in 1969? Along with the fuel, obviously, anybody who's anybody in this world is questioning the fuel in airplanes by now. The narrative just doesn't make any sense. It's in the wings. Where? If you look into the airplane wings, it's all gears and operations and flap controls and all that shit. Where is this 60,000 gallons of fuel being stored? You ever seen what a 60,000 gallon tank looks like on the ground? Look it up. I'll show you. It's fucking working. $60,000. Oops. Gallon water tank. 60,000 gallon water tank. Here we go. Here's a picture of it for you. 60,000 gallons. Look at the truck on the side. Look how small the truck looks. See if I can find a better picture from farther away. And it's like 1,000,000-something pounds worth of fuel. Oh, here's a 60,000 gallon storage tank on the back of a truck. Yeah? Where's that on a plane? The Concorde was not allowed to fly in the United States because of the sonic booms broke a lot of windows. That's what they say, for sure. That was over land, but it could still make traveling across oceans much easier. Imagine what would happen if people were flying at 55,000 feet and still not seeing curvature out the windows. Now that we've woken up to the idea of it. The canceling of the Concorde makes like zero fucking sense. It's really interesting how all of the 60,000 gallon tanks pictures are way up close, and there's none with just like vehicles sitting next to it so you can see the difference. I'm still trying to find one where it's just sitting next to a vehicle. Here's something from iFunny. This is a 60,000 gallon water tank. A Boeing 747 holds 63,000 gallons of fuel. Where do they keep it? Oh, same picture. So people are waking up to it all over the place. It's just that, you know. And the thing is, like, how come the United States government, military, whatever it may be, hasn't said, hey, we understand that there's a large contingency of the population that is talking about where could the 60,000 gallons possibly go? There's that. That's basically the size of the fucking tank. What are you talking about? And then again, we're talking about liquid fuel sloshing around and shit. Now here's a diagram of where they say the fuel is. The fuel is supposedly separated into the wings like that. Do you know how much weight would be on those aluminum wings? And again, it's sloshing. You know, once you get half full or whatever, I mean, like, you ever carried a bucket of water? Shit sloshes. Anyway, I'm done. My voice is cashed, and Appreciate y'all being here, and we're going to continue talking about the Northville tunnels in the next few days, because I want to actually talk about the tunnels. Looking up Northville only gave us a small piece of the history, but I want to talk about this tunnel system that was there, and the insane asylums, and all of the Tartaria-esque connections that have now been destroyed and buried and are hidden from us. So have yourselves a fantastic fucking day, and pedophiles, kill yourself. Don't forget to get your free download, www.the-builderberg.group.com. We've dropped 2 songs since I last talked to you, and we should be dropping 1 in the next day. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have it for you. Charles better fucking deliver. Have a great day, guys. Pedophiles. Pedophiles. Kill yourself. Wait for it. Wait. Okay.